I'm adding custom strongholds to every biome, using new features and mechanics like trial spawners, traps, and unique end portal behaviors to update them to modern Minecraft. Starting with the desert and ocean strongholds and adding more based on your input, my goal is to add new excitement and intrigue every time you follow your Eyes of Ender. Like I said in the ocean stronghold video, I don't want to just rehash the same things with each new biome. Every biome stronghold should improve upon the foundations laid by the last one, while also exploring new directions. So while the desert stronghold featured winding halls and traps, the ocean stronghold instead had large flooded sections that you needed to swim through. Basically, every stronghold should feel special. So before I tackle the next biome, let's refresh ourselves as to what our goals are for every stronghold. First off, each stronghold should be more than just a reskin, and that means not just a reskin of the vanilla strongholds, but also of each of the other biome strongholds. However, these different structures are still united in some similar features. They'll all always have a starting staircase that'll be the start of the structure where the Eye of Ender is going to point. And of course, they'll always have a single end portal room. Making a room appear a single time per structure without it being the start of the structure is a little challenging with jigsaw blocks. Fortunately, we have a pretty good system that we'll review when we get to that point. And of course, the navigation to the end portal room should be complicated, but also learnable. There should be a lot of winding and traveling that the player has to go through in order to get from the starting staircase to the end portal room, but if they take the time to learn how these structures are designed, then they can find the end portal room more consistently the more strongholds they visit. And of course, the point of this series is to update the strongholds with both new data pack features as well as new Minecraft features like the trial spawners and trial vaults. Even though these were designed specifically for the trial chambers, they have a lot of utility in all kinds of custom structures to add additional replayability and value. So with our goals laid out and 2 biome strongholds now under my belt, it's time to work on our next biome stronghold, the Jungle Stronghold. So for the previous strongholds, I started by building some basic pieces in order to test the generation. However, at this point, we have a pretty good idea of how these structures are supposed to generate and how to make them do so. So while I do have the basic pieces, including a starting staircase, a corridor, the downward staircases, and so on, instead of starting with the complexes, I've actually started with a couple of the rooms. And the main reason for that is we're going to expand upon the Ocean Stronghold's internal room concept. As a reminder, the complexes for the Ocean Stronghold were designed to look like a bunch of rooms put together by several hallways and staircases, but all of that was built into the complex structure block, and then the jigsaws were overlaid on top of that. Then each of these rooms inside of the complex got filled by these internal room pieces. And this worked pretty well, especially for the fact that we needed to have both flooded and unflooded rooms accounted for. However, my goal for the Jungle Stronghold is that the complexes should be made almost entirely of internal room structures, with very little built pieces inside of the complexes. And so that requires building a few of the rooms first so that we can get an idea of the size and shape that we're working with. The main advantage of this, as you might be able to tell, especially from these larger rooms over here, is it gives us a lot more control and flexibility over the shapes of these rooms and indeed how they can connect to each other. So we can take a look at these wireframes made of sponge to get an idea of the concept here. Basically, all of the rooms that are this size are always going to have entrances and exits at these same locations within the room. But then if we were to take a look at each of these individual rooms, how they are connected to each other will vary between the room designs. So this bamboo pit room is the more wide open one. We have the 2 top entrances / exits that are disconnected from each other. You can hop across these bamboo to get from one platform to the next. And then the other 2 entrances are down on the bottom floor through the bamboo, one coming out through this corner here and one through the side over there. But then if we come into this room, we see the bottom section is a bit of a wide open prison design, but then up top, these 2 entrances are connected by a bridge, unlike in the bamboo room. We have a ladder that connects the 2 sections here, so of course you're still able to go between all 4 of the entrances, but exactly how you'll navigate between them is going to vary. Now these rooms over here are of course much smaller, so there's a lot less variety, but I still tried to implement a little bit. This room right here is very basic and has a depressed floor, and then we have a jigsaw block here that will eventually spawn a spawner. Whereas this one is the exact same design, except it has a chance to spawn some loot. This room, however, has a raised platform instead of a depressed one, and has 2 trial vaults here, and in fact, if we go down underneath this grate, we have a bit of a secret ominous vault down here. Another reason I'm going with this approach is it gives me the opportunity to have different variants of the same type of room, or rather different sizes of the same room variant. So here we have another bamboo pit that's obviously much smaller. Those are the jigsaws for the basic pieces that are the same as before, which I'll go over in a bit when we have the complex design, but I want to talk real quick about the jigsaws here for the internal rooms. The system for these is similar to last time, though has one slight additional complication. These structure blocks that have the jigsaw blocks in them are going to get placed first, and then the actual room design is going to get placed on top of them. However, you may notice that these room designs have jigsaw blocks inside of them, and in the previous system, those would actually not have worked. Only the jigsaw blocks in the first structure that gets placed will actually generate new pieces. So we're doing this slightly differently. Instead of placing the second piece, the room design, on top of the jigsaw blocks in the template pool, they're actually generating it themselves with an additional jigsaw block here at the bottom. So we have 2 different sizes of rooms. Let's get a very small complex designed for them. So unfortunately, I couldn't have the complex have absolutely no built pieces. It did have to have this little tiny baby hallway just to connect this smaller room to the edge of the border so that that can generate new pieces. Now, in case you haven't been keeping up with the Biome Stronghold series, you may not know what a complex is. Complex is basically just the name that I've given to one large room, one large structure block that is designed to look like several smaller rooms so that it's not clear that you're only passing through a single room. The main purpose of this is that complex navigation. It allows us to ultimately have a single portal room that you can navigate to from the starting staircase, but not necessarily through a set number of rooms. You have to learn how they are connected to each other. As for how that's done, we have all these jigsaw blocks on the borders that represent the entrances and exits into this complex, and they actually line up with the room designs that they match up with. So this jigsaw block right here in the middle is going to generate this large room, and those entrances and exits line up with these jigsaw blocks on the border of this complex. Any jigsaw blocks that have an emerald block next to them represent a possible entrance into this complex. So from the starting staircase, it can connect right into here. And any complexes that have a diamond block next to them represent the main path. This is how I guarantee that there will always and only be exactly one end portal room. Basically, there will be a series of complexes that will only connect via this main path, via these diamond blocks. So diamond block connecting to emerald block, connecting to diamond block, connecting to another emerald block, and ultimately leading to the portal room. So each complex only has one diamond block jigsaw blocks. All the rest are possible entrances, or will generate complexes that don't lead to the portal room, or just generate rooms themselves, like the gold block here. Now, of course, this leads to the second problem. If there's always the same path to the portal room, then the player could just learn that instead of having to learn how the rooms are connected together. And that is why we have so many copies of this complex. Each basically stack here you see is a different combination of the entrance and exit jigsaw blocks. The diamond block, the main path jigsaw block, is in a different position in each variant of this complex. Now, it is still learnable because there's a set number of possible entrances into each complex, but you have to learn A, where the boundaries of each complex are, B, where the entrances are, and C, which main paths connect to those entrances. Absolutely doable, but not something that's going to be really boring or easy unless you're making an actual active effort to learn the navigation, which is exactly what I want. So let's put all of this together and see what the Stronghold looks like. At first glance, I think this is looking pretty good. The starting staircase is right here, and that is feeding into the small room of a small complex. The large room is right next to it. That has some hallways going over into another, looks like small complex, yes. And that is then generating some more external rooms outside of the complexes, and those are connected by hallways. Taking a look back at this first complex, the staircase that goes down the main path into another complex is right here. This is, of course, just another small complex because it's all we have. And so from there, you can loop right into our very basic portal room that we're testing with right now. But of course, along the way, you also have hallways that go into other complexes, these side path complexes, and like I said, these external rooms as well. You may notice, of course, we have an assortment of mossy cobblestone and regular cobblestone. The structures are built entirely with mossy cobblestone, and I'm using processors to replace a random mix of it with regular cobblestone. This is something we'll be doing a lot for anything that we want some random block changes for, or anywhere that we want to change the blocks after we've placed the structure for any particular reason. Let's fly around inside of here and see how the hallways get connected with each other. So in this first small room, yep, we go directly into another room, probably another complex. And then this is the complex that represents the main path. This prison, of course, does have our chest, and then we can take the staircase up to here to get access to these other side path complexes. This is probably a jigsaw that is intended to generate a large room, which of course we don't have yet, so nothing's generating here. But then we can just cut right across the prison floor to go down the stairs and continue through the main path on our way to the portal room. This one's a cool one because we have to end up going down these stairs to this large room, and that takes us into just this very small room and directly to the end portal. So of course, as expected, there's no real problems with the generation here. Everything's working exactly as we would expect based on the experience from the other two strongholds. So I think it's time to expand this up with some larger complexes, and that's going to require some additional sizes and shapes of rooms. So before we dive into this mess that is the larger complexes, let's take a look at the new rooms that I've built. So in addition to the existing large and small rooms, we have 3 new sizes of rooms, and each of those have 3 or 4 variants between them. Of course, we have another bamboo pit room. This one has 2 entrances and exits on the bottom, and then 1 up here at the top that you'll have to climb up the bamboo for, or potentially drop down from. And of course, that same layout of entrances gets repeated in this dining hall room. So the lower floor has the dining table, which is going to generate some loot later with this jigsaw block. And then we have some stairs that go up here to the second floor that has the other exit. This is a fletching chamber. I felt that made sense since arrows are pretty associated with dispensers, and those are mechanically associated with the jungle temple, of course. So down here is where they would make their respective bows and arrows with gravel and logs. But then if we come up the stairs that are on the side here, or up this balcony, of course, we have the shooting range where they might test or practice with their bows. This room type is very small as well, but unlike the other one that has only 3 entrances or exits, this one is more of a 4-way intersection and doesn't have these sort of elevated entrances, so all the floors are at level. This one is of course very basic and is going to have a chance for a spawner. This one is a little bit more decorated and doesn't have a whole lot else going on besides some pots. This room might be a little bit too mean. The deep slate here is covering the center of the room, but there's some gaps that you can kind of tell. Probably not intentional. It's probably not the actual end of the hallway here, so you'll have to dig through in order to access the other parts of the stronghold. I'm going to use a processor to replace a random assortment of this deep slate with infested deep slate, so that you'll have to fight some silverfish as you mine your way through here. And then this is the first real room that takes advantage of the main mechanical identity that's associated with jungles by virtue of the jungle temple, and that is tripwires. The tripwires here connect to a tower of redstone torches that's hidden behind the walls here, and that connects to, currently, this red wool up here. I'm going to use a processor to replace that with TNT when the structure gets generated. It's not going to be random, it'll always be TNT. I just didn't want to accidentally activate it myself when I walk on the tripwire as I'm building or exploring here. The tripwire is of course very avoidable if you come in from any of these 3 entrances, but if you're approaching from this direction, you might need to pay a little bit closer attention in order to spot them because they're kind of hidden behind these outcrops. And I've also gone ahead and made 2 new variants of the basic hallway as well. Nothing too fancy, but just a way to add a little bit more variety as you were exploring the stronghold. Now, if you've watched the previous Biome Stronghold videos, you may realize that these hallways are a little bit shorter than the hallways that we made for the Ocean Stronghold and especially for the Desert Stronghold. And the reason for this is I want these corridors to be able to be used inside of these larger sizes of complexes, just like the internal rooms. So, though it may be hard to tell, this medium complex here has several little built pieces to connect the rooms to the outer bounds of the complex. But then we have these jigsaw blocks facing up for the various rooms that can generate inside of it. We have 4 different rooms, and then we also have this one that generates a corridor between this room and that room. This large complex is probably the largest that we've ever made for any of the Biome Strongholds so far, and that is really thanks to the fact that we can make so much of it a lot easier by just relying on the internal room system. So the large complex is going to be absolutely maze-like. Fortunately, I was able to keep the number of external connections down to, I believe, 8. But because they're so spaced out, this may result in the stronghold being much larger than the previous Biome Strongholds that I've made. However, as long as the main path is still learnable, I think that's fine. Now, before we test these out, I think it's really important that I create the actual portal room that we're going to use in the stronghold, because that might inform and change how these complexes are laid out. I might have to remake some of them just because the size is going to be really important for making sure that it actually gets placed. If the portal room is too big or it isn't able to get placed in these connections, then of course this whole system is moot. Before we move on, please remember to like and subscribe to keep an eye on when new videos come out. In addition to these Biome Stronghold videos, I plan to do a lot more with world gen and custom structures in the future, so I hope that you will enjoy. And if you are excited to play with these Biome Strongholds, please consider checking out my Patreon. Early access is available as a reward for my Wizard tier patrons and higher. I do plan to release this data pack publicly for free, but I want to make sure that a majority of the strongholds that a player might find in the world are Biome Strongholds. So it'll be early access until then. The portal room is of course the most important part of a stronghold. It is the main reason that players are going to travel here, it's what they're searching for, and of course it is necessary to complete the game. Now you may notice right away that the bounding box for this structure is a little bit larger than the room itself, and that's because I plan to have some additional pieces generated along the side here, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later. Right now, what's most important is just knowing where those are going to be placed, what the bounding box, the size of this structure is, so that I can ensure that it is going to be able to generate. So this is the entrance into the portal room. It takes you directly in front of these stairs, which takes us to the bedrock portal frame here in the middle above the very important lava. Right now, the room appears fairly empty, and that's because the jigsaws that are going to place the loot in this room to help fill it up have not been placed yet. They're going to go on the floor of these sides of the room, but I'm not going to place them here because these jigsaw blocks here in the back are what's going to generate these side pieces that I mentioned on the outside. And because of where they happen to be, because of the size of this area, they're actually going to end up overlapping with any jigsaw blocks that I place here. So I'm actually going to have to place those jigsaw blocks in those side piece structures, even though from the player perspective, they're going to be a part of this structure. They're going to be in this room. Now, for those of you that haven't watched the previous Biome Strongholds videos, you may be wondering why the portal frame here is made of bedrock and not of end portal frames, and why the 2 end portal frames are down here on the ground. As part of updating the strongholds to the modern age and implementing cool new data pack mechanics and features, the end portals in these Biome Strongholds have some custom behavior. So when you place an Eye of Ender in one of these end portal frames, it's going to project some particles to the bedrock portal frame. And once all 12 are filled, that's when the end portal will open here in this bedrock frame. This is just to add a little more pomp and circumstance to the act of filling the end portal and spawning the end portal. As my friend Nice Name said, it makes it really feel like you are building to something instead of just spinning around in a circle. Now, of course, I did say 12 end portal frames. I don't want to change the number of Eyes of Ender that you need to open the portal, but there's only 2 here right now. The others are going to be placed in those side structures, but we're going to have to return to that later. First off, we need to make sure that the end portal actually generates. Wow, those bigger complexes really do a good job of stretching this place out. Oh my gosh. So our starting staircase is right here in the middle, which is pretty cool, but certainly not typical. We shouldn't expect that to always be the case. It seems like it might open into no, this can't be a small complex because that's an intersection. This is the tripwire room. So I think based on the size and height that this is probably a medium complex. We've got an intersection right here, and then these are 4 rooms. And those stretch off into, this is certainly a small complex. We can tell because of the large room and then this short hall, and it has these 3 side rooms here. But I do see the portal room over here, which is awesome. It's quite a good distance away from the starting staircase. A little hard to tell exactly how to get there. So we enter into the tripwire room. We do have the TNT up there that gets triggered by this tripwire, correct? Beautiful. So that's working fine. So then we climb up this slime room and yep, take this downward staircase. And then from here, we can go through here. Oh, I'm pretty sure. And then this must be a silverfish room. Yes, looks like it. So we have to dig our way up through this staircase. And yep, we have the end portal room right here. Perfect. And then of course here at the back, these are just open because we haven't built those structures yet. So it does seem like both the complexes and the end portal room are generating the way I want. It's actually pretty difficult to tell, especially from the inside, where one complex ends and another begins. But I do think that based on especially the varying heights, it should be possible to learn them with enough time. I have a bit of an advantage having built them, so I can kind of tell, especially for that first medium complex, that it is not a small complex for sure because it didn't have a short hall. But walking through the stronghold did remind me that it is still fairly empty. I think it's time that we add the spawners and the loot that's going to generate and fill all of these rooms. So the spawners and the loot should look pretty familiar for anyone who has watched any previous Biome Strongholds videos. We have the pretty typical pile of gold, as well as a chest filled with loot, some pots, some of which have loot and one of which is trapped, and then we have the ominous trial vaults. I've also added a new loot type, which is this sort of treasure chest. It's a little bit more guarded, a little bit more secure, but of course you can still open it because that's just a slab on top. And this one is specifically going to pull from the treasure loot table, unlike this chest, which is more of a standard type of loot table. Before I get into the spawners, what you may also notice is that there is no filler over on this side. We don't have the large gazebos for the spawners, and we don't have any other filler types. And this is of course because they're frankly not needed, because we're using this internal room system, and in particular because these internal rooms are so much more robust than those that we used in the ocean stronghold. We don't really even have any space for large 5x5 filler pieces, nor do we need them to make these rooms feel more dynamic. They already are very dynamic and they have things that we can fill them with. The only things that we need therefore are the more dynamic loot structures and the spawners. When it comes to spawners, we have the typical 4 different types. The Ocean Stronghold required a whole bunch because it needed some for the flooded sections and the unflooded sections. But since this is a pretty typical, not flooded stronghold, just like the desert one, we only really need the 4 mobs. First up, we have bogged that are wielding wooden swords. These are mostly here because their color palette fits the vibe of the jungle stronghold. They don't actually deal poison unless they're wielding bows, so they are just a different kind of skeleton, which I think fits the vibe better. This spawner over here is going to spawn skeletons that are wielding bows, but they also have arrows of blindness. And then for our sort of boss spawner, where the Desert Stronghold used breezes and the Ocean Stronghold used Elder Guardians, we have Vexes. These Vexes are a little less cruel than those you might come across fighting an Evoker. They're a little bit larger, and they will constantly emit these Trial Omen particles. Even though they aren't spawned by an ominous spawner necessarily, I think these will just help illuminate where they are a little bit more so that you can help find them without just giving them glowing, which I think would make them too easy and frankly be kind of annoying. You may also notice these additional particles coming off of them, and that's because they have weaving. So if we kill these Vexes, they are going to spawn a couple of cobwebs nearby, which I think just adds a little bit more kind of character to them, even if it doesn't make them more threatening. Now, this last spawner that I skipped over, you might be able to tell is a creeper trial spawner. Creepers are a difficult mob to make spawners for. There aren't any dungeons for them because of course they could blow up and destroy the mob spawner. Now, thankfully, trial spawners are too tough. They aren't able to be exploded, but the creeper could still blow up other important parts of the surrounding structure. They could destroy loot or just generally blow up part of the structure that the player may want to preserve. Basically, even though they are a really important and integral mob to the canon of Minecraft, they aren't really well designed for being an enemy you fight in structures. To help with this, I gave the creepers that are spawned by these trial spawners have these smoke particles just to help indicate that they are a little bit different. And if we switch to survival mode here, then we'll see he's going to come towards us like normal. He's going to attempt to explode, but you see he's going to not explode. Now, when you make a creeper not able to explode, primarily by increasing their fuse length, they do end up still widening and getting really big. They're trying to explode, and he's also going to stand pretty much perfectly still. If we back up though, he's going to reset just like normal. Now, what you may have also noticed there is that when we got close, we had this little explosion particle that did deal some damage and knock us back. And that's going to be on about a 30 tick cooldown, so about a second and a half. So he is still a threat, but he's also able to be combated without destroying part of the stronghold. So in this case, he's going to turn and face us as well, so you can't get behind him super easily at least. And then we can go ahead and take him out. So this allows me to have a very thematic enemy, especially color-wise, to defend the stronghold with without it disrupting or otherwise conflicting with the intent of the stronghold as a place of exploration, of traps, and potentially of puzzles. Which leads me into the number one thing that's going to set the jungle stronghold apart from other biome strongholds. The jungle temple is not only known for its use of tripwires for traps, it's also known for a piston puzzle. The difficulty with that is it's very easy to completely ignore the puzzle, just break through the wall and get the treasure that way. And so that's something I want to avoid with my puzzles that are going to use primarily data pack features. Now, I do want my puzzles to still use tangible redstone components so that the player can interact with them in a way that feels logical to them, but there will be other custom relationships that the player will have with them as well. And additionally, though, there will be sometimes, especially when it comes to like secret doors and stuff, that the player will technically be able to just break through. I'm hoping that the coolness of the puzzles will help alleviate some of that. And there'll be some puzzles that don't lead anywhere and will just spawn, specifically, the treasure loot that we built last. So this is definitely the more puzzly puzzle, an example of one of the ones that doesn't have a secret door. It's just going to generate a treasure chest here in this empty room. When the player presses this button, it's basically going to start the puzzle for this room, initiate it, set it up, whatever you want to call it, and then some colored particles will start to occasionally appear above these chiseled tough pedestals. There's 2 up here on this floor, and then if you go down these stairs, there's a couple more in these side hallways here. Now, there are some jigsaws that'll generate some spawners, so you'll need to take care of those first before you can properly solve the puzzle, but then we have these colored terracottas. The puzzle here is that the player is going to have to mine these glazed terracottas, pay attention for the particles that are on the pedestals in these hallways here, and place the appropriate colored terracotta on each pedestal. Once they do, that'll spawn the treasure chest here in this room. This room is much more of a secret door type of puzzle, and probably doesn't really count as a puzzle, really just a secret door. We have a lever up here that I'll have to remove this vine for to be able to flick, and then we also have a lever over here that's going to play a sound effect, so it'll open this door, and there's a treasure chest back here for us to access and get some loot from. It also opens the door up here on the second floor. There are also 2 levers up here on this second floor that you can flick to be able to open both doors as well. Only 2 levers need to be flicked, and they technically can be on different floors, but as long as 2 are flipped, then both of the doors will open. So this is one of the few rooms where the player may not be able to access a certain part of the stronghold, perhaps an entire half, because it is blocked behind a secret door that they'll have to be paying attention for and locate. I've also made a smaller version of the color puzzle here in one of the short halls. This one isn't so much a redstone or data pack puzzle as just something that you'll have to kind of pay attention for. The crypt here has several sarcophagi, a few of them are on the ground, a few of them are on the wall, and they all have a chest inside with some basic loot. However, underneath this sarcophagus, there are some trapdoors that you can take down into a little bit of a crawl space that will let you access a further secret treasure chest. This room works much the same way. It's one of the tall rooms that has an entrance at the top and then 2 at the bottom. The bottom floor just looks like a hallway, but it's going to have a lever that will be hidden behind a vine that'll open a secret door that reveals a ladder. The ladder has a lever at the top of it that just opens the secret door from the other side, so right now it doesn't do anything, but if we were to close this and go up to the top floor, which only has the one entrance, mind you, then we have a similar sort of deal where the sarcophagus is hiding under some trapdoors, a ladder that takes us into a smaller hallway, and that's where that lever is, so we can flick it from this side to gain access to the lower section. This also adds several more room variants, which is just going to add a lot more variety to the jungle stronghold, and it really needs it because it is turning out to be really quite large. Let's go ahead and test these guys out. Oh wow, this one is even bigger than the last one. That is insane. I'm not sure if I like or dislike this. I think it's really, really cool, and there should be enough interconnectedness like this one here. This is clearly at least one large complex, which in theory we can reduce the odds of, we can reduce the weight and make it less common. But also, there's a lot of interconnectedness within the large complex, so it probably won't actually feel as large to explore as it looks from the outside. Before we start checking on the puzzle rooms, I do want to make sure that we actually have a portal room. Yes, we do. There it is. Great. Now, I did see we have a color puzzle room down here, so I think we'll check on that first. Let's just make sure this works as expected. So we press the button, and then that's going to trigger and start it. I saw some blue particles over here and some green ones here, so we can place that and that. And then we just got to watch these other two podiums. Oh, green one's over there. So that one must have been yellow. And then we can place red right here. Great. And we get our treasure chest that has some pretty decent loot in here. Looks like a bit of a low roll, but some ender pearls is not bad. Let's fly around through the rest of the stronghold and make sure, yep, we're getting some spawners, which is awesome. This is a skeleton spawner. And if we come into this prison room, we have a bogged spawner, and looks like that's the only one here, so there is a chance for there to not be spawners, which is good. That's what we want. This bridge up here is also empty. Oh, good, and here we have a sarcophagus room, so we can break this. We see our chest. Okay, great, cool, a bunch of loot. Then we can break it, and we have a trapdoor that takes us into the secret hallway so that we can come down into here. Now, right now, we really only have the one true puzzle as well as a few secret doors. So when it comes to the next task, I want to make sure that we're adding even more types of puzzles and perhaps even more intricate ones. Fortunately, I think that's going to make sense because next up is the library rooms. For the desert and ocean strongholds, I took to calling these large rooms rather than library rooms because I didn't build any libraries for them. I wanted them to be a little bit different and just generally more intricate or more challenging room types than the traditional rooms that filled the rest of the stronghold. However, this time for one of the large rooms, I did specifically decide to go with a library design, which I think turned out really, really awesome. I went with a 2-floor sort of grand library type of feel. We have a central bookshelf spire here in the middle, walls that are filled with bookshelves that are currently covered by cobwebs that will be randomly removed and replaced with air via a processor. And then on the first floor, we also have the standing bookshelves here along the sides between the walls and the central hallways and walkways and such. These also have cobwebs that'll be randomly removed by the same processor. Now you may notice here as well that there is a chiseled bookshelf that has some particles occasionally popping out of it, specifically these red skull particles, and you may also be able to hear the sound of pages turning. The puzzle here, which I won't demonstrate because I don't want to break the structure that I'm actually saving with here in my build world, is to find all of the chiseled bookshelves by listening for the sounds of pages turning. And then in each of them, you'll need to place a single book into one of these slots. Unlike the color puzzle room, this room gets set up or initiated when a player enters the room for the first time, specifically a player in survival, of course. That action will randomly decide for each of the 4 chiseled bookshelves, one there, one there, one there, and one down there, which slot the book needs to be in. If there is exactly one book in only that slot in each of the 4 chiseled bookshelves, then a treasure chest will spawn on this balcony up here. Definitely the most intricate and complicated puzzle that we have. Hey, Editing Cano here. As you're going to see in the playtest later, I realized that this puzzle is perhaps a little less intuitive than I was hoping for. It's not super clear that you need to only put a single book in each chiseled bookshelf, and so players will instinctively try to fill all the bookshelves and then be confused why the particles are still happening, or indeed if the particles even mean anything at all. So to help with that, if you download the data pack either in early access from my Patreon or of course after it's released publicly for free, you're going to find that these books are in item frames. There's going to be 4 of them, and they are all named Ancient Tome number 1 through 4, and they have an enchantment glint to help indicate that they are important. Now, they aren't actually useful for anything, they are just normal books, but I'm hoping the fact that there are exactly 4 of them, and there's exactly 4 chiseled bookshelves, will help be an indicator that you only need a single book per bookshelf. Now, of course, there is the concern that players might think that a specific book needs to go in each bookshelf, but I'm hoping that even if they do think that, they might still realize that it needs to go on a specific shelf as well. And that's really the most important part. Now, in addition to the puzzle, there are, of course, a lot of spawners in this room, or a lot of chance for spawners anyway, as well as a couple chances for some loot to generate in the corners of the room. If we fly outside, it's also a little easier to see that there are some barrels hidden on the bookshelves, or within the bookshelves, that are, of course, potentially covered by vines or cobwebs, and those are filled with standard library loot. Before I get to the second large room, I'll briefly go over the smaller two because they are pretty standard from all the other Biome strongholds. This one is the typical treasure room. I've decided that I really like this design and I'm going to continue it across all of the Biome strongholds and just change the block palette for it. It has 5 chances for loot plus a boss spawner, so this is always going to have a Vex, and then we have these cool pillars on the sides as well. The one small difference that this treasure room has from the other treasure rooms is that this particular jigsaw is always going to generate one of those treasure chest loot types instead of having a chance for any of the loot types like these other 4 will. And then this is our sleeping quarters room. It is 2 floors, so it has a couple of bunk beds down here plus a decorated pot. And then if we come up these stairs, then it has another decorated pot, a chest for supplies, and then this has a chance to either be the connector into this room or to generate a room, and same for that one. This last room over here is, I think, the puzzle that I am most proud of. And to really explain it and bring it home, it needs to be demonstrated in-game. So let's test the generation for these large rooms, and then I'll show you this awesome puzzle. So first off, like the sleeping quarters, there are 2 potential entrances into this room, one on the second floor here and one on the bottom floor here. This one happened to be the one that was not selected, and so it just generates a single room and then it stops. And then you may have noticed the pillar of green wool that was over here, which has now been replaced by vines. That was done with a processor, and it's just to make sure that there is a nice way up to the second floor. Now, besides the Vex spawner that's down there and is guaranteed, there are a couple of spawners that can generate up in these corners. Looks like we've gotten 3 of them, which is pretty poor luck. And then spread throughout the room are 13 chests. There are 4 down here on the bottom, and the rest are up on the second floor. So just like the color puzzle room, when players press this button, that's going to initiate the puzzle, which is going to remove all but 4 of the chests. In this case, we got pretty lucky. There's 2 down here, and then the other 2 are going to be somewhere up here on the second floor. So when I open this chest, we're going to hear, in this case, a bad sound, a bit of a breaking sound, and we saw a nice little number 2 float above this chest. So we opened this chest in the wrong order. If we open it again, nothing's going to happen. We're going to have to try and open a different chest. That one was number 3, so that's also not correct. So let's come back down to the first floor. That's number 4. Now we know for next time. So this must be number 1. We got a nicer sound effect for that one. So now if we go up to chest number 2, which was over here, we get a nice sound for it. We have opened it in order. So we can come back over to number 3 and number 4. And that is going to give us a treasure chest here in the middle, replacing that stone button. It's a pretty intuitive one, a pretty simple one, but I'm really happy with the way that it worked out. To explain how it works, basically, again, when you press the button, that's what initiates it. It's going to select 4 random chests, or rather, it's going to 4 times select a single chest and assign it the next number in sequence. So it's going to decide chest number 1, chest number 2, chest number 3, chest number 4, and then any chests that didn't get picked after that are all going to have a function run at them. There's a marker positioned at each of these chests already, which just is going to remove the chest, kill the marker and place some particles. After that, the puzzle is ready to play. So when you open a chest, it has a loot table assigned to it that just is empty. It doesn't have any loot inside, but the game still counts the player as generating the loot from that chest when they open the chest. That advancement then checks what the current score of the room's puzzle is, of the marker that is here at the button, and then checks if that chest is the next number in sequence. If it is, it plays a good sound effect and increases that score, and if it isn't, then it plays a bad sound effect and resets that score. If the score was the next in sequence and then the score is 4, then it generates the treasure and turns off the puzzle so that you can't play it again. And that, I think, is just so awesome. Again, very easy, very intuitive, but really, really fun. Now, it looks like we got unlucky and didn't get a library for this stronghold. That's another reason why I didn't want every biome stronghold to have a library, because I didn't want people to expect them to behave in the same way. So with the puzzles implemented, and especially these large rooms, I really feel like the jungle stronghold's identity is coming together. The next step is to complete the portal room by adding those side pieces, and while we're at it, we might as well design the portal complex. So starting off here, the portal complex, just like normal, is just a large complex that also contains the portal room. This is an important step in guaranteeing that every stronghold will have a portal room. Sometimes the portal room will be a room all on its own at the end of a chain of complexes, and sometimes it's going to have to be embedded in one of these complexes so that the structure doesn't get too large and prevent itself from spawning. It also helps complicate the navigation in a way that is still learnable, because now if the player enters a large complex, if they're able to identify that it's a large complex, they'll also need to double check and confirm that it isn't the portal complex, or check if it is. And if it's not, then they can go and check the other exits from this complex to see if those lead to the portal room. Specifically for this portal complex, the portal room generates way down on that jigsaw there. So we've cut out 3 rooms sort of at the end in the bottom section of this complex, and it connects to, this is one of the large 2-floor rooms. So it connects at the top of that, and then you go straight into the portal room. And that extra space is going to be filled by these things. We have some jigsaws back here that are facing inwards, and those are what connect to the little hallway over here at the end, at the back of the end portal room. And basically these are just little mazes where all of the end portal frames are scattered around at the end of a bunch of different hallways. We have some jigsaws that will generate some spawners. Each one will always have at least 1 Vex spawner, and then there's a chance for an additional spawner. So the player will have to explore all of these branching hallways and go to the ends to find all of the end portal frames that are scattered throughout. This, I feel like, is a really unique and interesting method of spreading the end portal frames throughout the portal room compared to the previous 2 strongholds. Or at the very least, it fits the jungle stronghold much better than just having them all in the same room. Now there are 3 different variants. Each side has the same variants that are just mirrored across each other. And so when you find an end portal room and you find those first 2 end portal frames, as you head to the back to search for the rest, then you will need to potentially go to between 2 different types of hallways, 2 different mazes, so to speak, to search for the remaining portal frames, and of course face at least Vexes and possibly one other mob along the way. This variant just has you go down, there's 1 end portal frame here, and then there's a bit of a load hallway below the portal room that has several portal frames. This variant has you go up some stairs to an elevated hallway. There's an end portal frame here. We have a mini bamboo pit here that you have to jump across, as well as an already hit trap of gravel that's fallen down into this pit. And you come across there, chance for loot, and an end portal frame here. But wait, that's not enough. You actually do have to jump down these 2 pits and traps to be able to access the other end portal frames. There are 5 end portal frames on each side of each variant, which means those plus the 2 that are in the main portal room add up to 12, the same number as a normal end portal. And like I mentioned before, these jigsaws that are kind of outside of each of these mazes are going to generate the loot inside the actual portal room. So those are lined up so that they'll generate in these sort of side sections here beside the end portal. Since the mazes that have these end portal frames are connected directly to the end portal room and only to this end portal room, I don't think that makes this system too complicated for somebody who potentially has never visited a stronghold before. In particular, the fact that there are 2 end portal frames right here that are easily within sight. Once you click on them, once you use the eye of Ender on them and see that some particles are generating there, it basically becomes like a breadcrumb trail as you go back to here and then through each of these hallways to find the rest of the end portal frames. This should be easy enough to generate since the end portal room already generates and the side mazes here fit perfectly inside the bounding box of the end portal frame, which is why we built it this way. And so before we actually test this generation, I want to add one more feature to the Jungle Stronghold, and it's something that we skipped over in the Ocean Stronghold because it already had plenty going on. Just like the Desert Stronghold, the Jungle Stronghold is going to have custom traps. Some feedback I got from the traps in the Desert Stronghold was that it felt bad that players weren't able to reuse these traps, that they weren't able to pick them up and use them elsewhere, and so they didn't feel vanilla enough. Now, I disagree with the assertion that they need to specifically feel vanilla because this is, of course, a data pack, and so a certain amount of expectation that things are going to be slightly cooler than vanilla, I think is reasonable. However, the idea that these traps should be reusable and collectible I did resonate with, and so I've gone ahead and added that behavior to the noxious gas emitter. So when the player gets close to one of these noxious gas emitter blocks, which is just a chiseled tough block, it's going to project these particles up to kind of warn you that there's danger here, and if the player steps on them, then they get the poison effect. Now previously, if the player mined this block, it would just completely disable the trap, but now it's going to actually drop the block as a gas emitter, as a block that you're able to place down, and it behaves exactly the same way. You can mine it again, it's going to drop again, and it stacks with other gas emitters. So I'm hoping that this will be a reasonable compromise for those of you who were disappointed with the traps in the Desert Stronghold. This behavior has been retroactively added to those traps that are in the Desert Stronghold, and it's also going to be a trap present here in the Jungle Stronghold. In addition to this, I've added one more trap, which is the flame emitter trap, and this one's even cooler because it is actually interacted with via redstone. If we go ahead and slap a lever on here, then it's going to start projecting some flames in front of it, and if we step up to it, then we'll start taking some fire damage and get pushed back against the flame. And we can turn off this lever to disable it. What's also really cool is if we were to place some blocks in front of it here, so let's set up a little situation here. Turn this on, go to survival mode, then although the particles are coming through, the flame damage is being blocked by this block. There's not a lot I can do about the particles, but at the very least, you can disable these traps that way if you don't want to mine it for some reason, or if you just need an easy way to traverse an area that is protected by these flame emitter traps. And just like the noxious gas emitter, if you break this, it's going to drop as a stackable flame emitter block trap that you can replace, and it'll behave in exactly the same way. So we can come over here and see the actual redstone devices that I've set up for the flame emitters, as well as just the normal noxious gas emitter trap that's down there. These are going to have a chance to fill some of the corridors as you explore the stronghold. And of course, I tried to integrate tripwire into them, so I'm going to temporarily break one of these structure voids here so you can get the gist. I have right now structure voids counting as a block that blocks the flame emitters, but if we step on this flame emitter, then some pulse extenders are going to activate and turn these flame emitters on for a short amount of time after you have stepped off the tripwire, and then they will eventually turn off. The noxious gas trap, of course, works exactly as the one in the Desert Stronghold. It's going to be embedded in the floor, and some very obvious, though potentially secret traps hidden in the floor that you can tell from the pattern on top. So if you walk across, then you'll start to get the poison effect unless you dodge them. And then this is just a classic dispenser trap. These dispensers are going to be filled with arrows or potentially splash potions based on a loot table, and stepping on these tripwires is simply going to activate them all a single time. In addition to these traps, I've also gone ahead and made a couple of additional what I'm calling room terminuses. We've been using one room terminus already, as we have for all of these stronghold types, which is just this very basic wall with a single jigsaw block to connect wherever a room either fails to generate, doesn't have room to generate, or we're just at the end of a particular chain of complexes and rooms. And that has so far worked well enough, but I want to add just a little bit more variety to even this small portion of the stronghold. And so we have a couple of additional room terminuses. This one is very basic, just a small room at the end, but there is a chance for a spawner to be in here. And this one is very similar but has a chance for loot, just like some of the small rooms that we've made. This one is designed to look like a small prison cell, which I think works pretty well since prisons are a very common room type. And then this one is designed to utilize the flame emitter trap again. So we have a small kind of doorway here to obscure part of the room, but if we go into spectator mode and take a look inside, there are some tripwires behind it, very similar to those you would find in the end portal room. And this lime wool is going to get replaced with vines, just like in that chest puzzle room. Behind it is a flame emitter dispenser, and of course the tripwires will activate this repeater, this redstone, which will then activate the flame emitter, which is able to go through vines, although not through lime wool, so can't really demonstrate it here. This one I think is going to be the most fun because players will naturally and instinctively want to go through the back of the corridor to see if anything's hidden in the corners at the very end of this hallway, and ultimately that's going to result in them getting hit by the flame emitter, which is great, especially if they might end up naturally avoiding the tripwires of this flame emitter trap that they would find in the corridors. So let's see how these things generate, along with the portal complex and the portal mazes. This down here is clearly a room terminus that has a flame emitter inside. So we can see how that works if we step up, and yep, flames come out, the vines do not block it. This one doesn't have the pulse extender like the hallway trap does, but I think it still works well enough. We do have what looks like one of the dispenser traps here that we can test, yep, and we got arrows popping out. Let's see if we can find one of the flame emitter hallway traps as well. Here we go. So we can step through here, all the flame emitters will turn on and stay on for a short amount of time, and then they'll all disable to be ready to be activated again by the tripwire. Traps are looking good, so let's try and hunt down that portal room. I think I see it down here. Yes, definitely the portal room. The loot is generating perfectly. We've got gold, we've got pots, we've got the ominous trial spawner, and some of the end portal frames are already filled by Eyes of Ender thanks to the processor that we're using. This also helps indicate where some of the portal frames are because the particles can project through the walls. And so players will realize, oh, there must be something back there. So we can follow along here, and let's see, did we get two of the same variant? Hard to say. I think we might have. There's certainly a chance for that, but I don't think that's too much of a problem. We've got our Vex spawners at the bottom of each, and all the other Eye of Ender portal frames. Let's go ahead and fill these up and see how that looks. Oh, that's funny. This one's kind of hidden behind a trial vault. So of course, players typically, certainly I typically, like to see the end portal when it opens. And so I've been designing all the previous end portal rooms to be able to help facilitate that. This room does have an end portal frame here facing the portal for exactly that reason, but as we saw with this case, the processor can sometimes fill that with an Eye of Ender, removing that as a contender to be able to fill as the last portal frame to watch the end portal open. So just like with the Ocean Stronghold, if the player places the last Eye of Ender but isn't near the end portal, it's not going to open right away. It's going to wait for them to actually get back to that main chamber and get close to the end portal before it opens, so that players can experience that epic moment with the particles and the sound effects and everything. And this behavior is very important to me, so I'm glad we were able to retain it even with a more complicated portal design like this one. And now I feel confident saying that the Jungle Stronghold is complete. It's time to let my friends Nice Name and Macastine try to beat it. And this time, they're going to be working together. Alright, welcome Nice Name, welcome Mackie. Thanks for joining today.
Excited to explore another dungeon.
Yes, exactly. I wonder if we're being placed in jungle for any reason.
Could be. Well, of course, you've both played a Biome Stronghold before. Mackie, you've done 2 of them, but this will be our first Biome Stronghold with multiple players. So very excited to see how you two interact with each other and with the Stronghold.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah.
So, of course, I've got 2 chests for you so that you can both get geared up. Should have the same stuff. I've also given you both 8 Eyes of Ender, so you'll have to work together once you ultimately get to the portal room. And yes, we might be in a jungle stronghold for a reason, but you'll have to wait till we get down to the stronghold to see what exactly you're up against. We've got a nice little X over here, but if you want to throw your Eye of Ender to make sure we're going the right way.
Make sure that you didn't lie. No, you didn't lie. You want to do the honors, nice.
Sure. Dig straight down like you do in Minecraft.
The safest option, clearly. And I will meet you guys down there. All right, you found the starting staircase and your first trial spawner.
Oh, the blogs aren't actually have swords instead of the bows.
Yes, not quite as
right.
tough with the poison.
Oh, this is so much better with
yeah.
another backup player. Loot, let's go.
I got some keys. I just picked up.
I just got blinded. I have no idea where I'm running.
You might be running in the wrong direction. I think the skeletons here have blinded.
Oh,
Yeah.
Skeletons blind you, that's so evil.
It's like a little like jail room here.
Oh no.
It's a classic prison.
There's a skeleton hanging out inside this one.
So did anyone
Kind of
press
red.
the button back in that first room?
In the first
There was
room.
a button? Oh, there is a button. Wait, let me guess. It opens the door? The trapdoor? No, it doesn't. What does it do? I'm not hearing any pistons go on.
There's like a particle effect here that I don't know what it is.
There's more spawners down here. And I'm blinded again.
Blinded again.
Okay, I'm going back to the button. I want to find out what that was about.
Yep, I'll be right behind you.
Maybe there's some secret stuff going on. And I want to find out what's up here. Is there any loot here? Oh, wow. This is... Oh, I have a problem. Oh, wait, I'll dig to you. Oh, no.
Okay,
Oh,
alright.
so many creepers here.
Wait, where are you?
Oh my god, the bamboo
Okay, you're
is
up and over.
actually a huge problem.
Got those
Okay, I
creepers
see.
stuck though.
Oh my god, yeah.
Is that a charged creeper?
Oh yeah, why is it smoking? That's
I don't know. I'm just gonna take him out from up here.
Someone else's problem.
Seems like- yeah. Nope.
Okay, I
1 second.
I'm gonna do this. Oh my god. Hold on.
The squad incoming.
Is the pot gonna do something evil? Yeah, it
Good guess.
is. Oh, quick charge, nice. Oh my god, I found a super cool room. It's a huge library. Oh my god, it's so
Oh, nice.
Finally added libraries to strongholds.
There's
piercing
in a lay
Caving 4. That's crazy.
in a lay spawner. There's a creeper spawner on the other side. Just so you know.
Oh god, yeah. Oh my god. Oh, there are more pots here.
What? It didn't. What? The creeper like didn't blow up. It like pushed me back for a second. Huh?
Wait, let me try that.
It got bigger
Oh
though.
yeah, it's doing something weird. Is it an immortal creeper? Oh, it continuously explodes. That's so mean.
Okay, yeah. More keys up top as well. Oh, and there's a vault up here.
Oh really? Okay, I'm
Yeah. Yeah, I have 4 keys, so I'm gonna put one in here. Ooh, enchanted axe.
I have 6 keys.
Ominous.
Oh, and the pearl diamonds. Okay, I'm getting all the luck here. Oh my god.
This is a cool room.
I do hear something.
Yeah, I hear a page being turned.
Yeah, where is it coming from? Do you have any more enchanted books?
The Power 4 was the only enchanted book that I got.
Can you come down here and try placing it in the bookshelf here? Because I'm seeing some particles at this bookshelf here.
Okay.
Maybe
I was like right
maybe
above
I'm
you.
imagining things. Can you put 2 more books in here if you have them?
I have 2 more empty books. There was 2 open books upstairs. Let me grab those.
Are
I
we
filled
on
it
the
up.
right track here, or?
You've identified what you're supposed to be interacting with for sure.
Okay. I'm guessing there are more of these empty bookshelves around here.
That, or there's a certain sequence that we need to like figure out.
Or maybe the page sound is coming from the direction of the empty bookshelf.
Once you find them all, I'll give you a hint.
All right, more books and trim also.
Oh, I found another one.
Where are you up on the upper level or lower level?
Yeah, but I already placed some books there. It was this one here.
Okay. All right.
I'm not sure if we're just supposed to fill them with random stuff or it's gotta be something specific. Oh, there's another barrel. Oh, another armor tree.
There, there's another one here too.
Yeah, I hear the page, but I don't locate it. Oh, I found it. It's right there. I still hear the pages.
You only need a total of 4 books to solve this puzzle.
4 books. Okay. Yeah, if there are 4 of these empty bookshelves, I'm guessing we have to find the correct spot for every single
Yes.
of the empty ones. The question is, which one is the right one? I saw.
Oh, okay. I got little green particles that show up when I put one book in one slot. Where's the other one that's up here then? Here it is. Okay. All right, I took. Yeah. But,
Oh yeah, okay. This one, the one on the bottom should be correct as well. Okay, the 2 on the bottom should be correct now. Then this should be the last one.
it's not the bottom middle one for this one because that was where I had got red particles at least.
Okay. I'm not getting any particles now.
Mm-mm.
Red.
Yeah.
Let's go! Wait, did this just spawn? Was this here before? I don't think so.
No.
Oh my god.
Wow.
We are. That was a really cool puzzle.
That was subtle.
Welcome to the jungle stronghold.
And we only found like 2 custom rooms so far. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead and take that golden apple. I already took one like earlier.
Alright. What just happened? I heard. Oh.
Yeah.
I just heard their noise. I kind of want to see what happens when I step in it. Oh, poison. Yep.
Poison.
Oh, I'm running.
Yeah. Can you block it with like?
Oh, true.
Looks like it still goes through.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't push.
Oh no, it doesn't. The visual effect is there, but you're not poisoned by it. Oh, there's like a little.
I'm scared.
Ah. Okay. There's a little trap back there.
Oh, I triggered the tripwire. Oh no.
Yeah, there's like a little room right here. Yeah, there's a tripwire.
Oh, you can disarm it.
Oh, I just want to look at
I
the top
mean-
first.
The button doesn't necessarily have to be connected to anything, right?
Yeah,
Because the other.
there are
Oh god. Creepers.
but the special creepers.
Pictures weren't connected to anything either, and they did something.
I love the wide creepers.
Yes.
It's just all spawners up there.
Do you see anything happening?
It looks the same as I can remember coming in, but
Wait,
I didn't get a
there's a
good
one.
chance to like.
Did you just see that?
No.
Wait, how did you do that?
Do what?
Wait, can you open the chest again? Oh my god, we're discovering things.
An order thing maybe. We'll go up.
Yeah, probably. Did we destroy the main chest?
Okay, there's a chest over here by the creeper spawner.
There's another one over here.
Okay, if you open it, does it?
Displayed too. This one
Okay.
just displayed it too.
Okay, I'm gonna open this one. 3.
3. And this one. Yeah. 2, 4.
Wow, first try.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
incredible.
I mean, just randomly did it in the right order.
I think I get it. So you have to open the chest in the correct order? Is that how?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Nice.
And you just happened to do it without messing up. That's awesome.
Okay, so is this? No, this is a different room then. All right, so green, blue, red, yellow. I'm just gonna in chat, I'm gonna say, so we have an order like listed.
Yeah.
There was like a little particle that showed up when we first came in the room.
Yeah,
Like
I
a little
just saw
red
that.
particle here. Oh, okay. All right. I got it.
Oh,
They're on each corner here. Yep. So do we like pick it up and then?
Yeah. I think this one was green. Wait, I'm red-green blind.
Oh no.
Do we have a yellow or something?
That is
Okay,
green.
no, I think-
Yeah, I have a yellow.
I think that.
Yeah, and I think we're here.
We either have to place yellow or green here. I can't tell. Oh, it was green.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Great. Well, now we know how to solve the other room that was back closer to the
there
entrance too. This is supposed to look out of place enough that we like need to investigate.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I accidentally mined that. Oh, there's tripwire. Watch out.
Okay.
I wanna trigger it. Oh, there's TNT.
Are you sure you want to trigger it?
Yeah. Can you trigger?
Yeah, I'll
you
do
can
that
trigger it with
next.
the.
Add it to the fire. Worth it.
Oh my goodness.
There are tough stairs here.
Oh, there are stairs. Wait, we found it. Nice. Oh, so many chests.
Yes. Now what's the puzzle going to be for this then? Here, there's stairways in the back here, and there are spawners up here as well.
Okay. Wait, I'll keep count. I placed 2 so far. How many
Yeah,
more?
there's a Vex spawner up top, and there's I can place I can place that one. And that one goes down to like a trap. I think there might be something else across. Okay, so I found one on the other side as well. Or 2. Oh, no. Now I'm falling down.
I'm guessing it's mirrored and there are more. Yes.
Oh, there was one actually in a pit. So I had to fall down into a bamboo pit. Like I had to fall into a trap almost.
Yeah, I think oh god, I'm in a little bit of trouble.
I'm heading back to the main chamber. There's one across here probably.
Down there.
See on the other side, that was where I found one at.
This is where you
There was death here.
Oh, I accidentally found another one by falling into the trap.
Okay, and I got one more. I think this might be the last one. Oh.
Oh, we did it. Let's go. We did it. That was a huge adventure.
That was fun.
Yeah, you liked all the puzzles in here?
Yeah.
Yes, I was looking forward to that part.
Yeah. I feel like the puzzles make it feel like we deserved this. Like we worked for getting here.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I like that they weren't just like I don't know, necessarily brute forceable either. Like when the jungle temple, like by itself, vanilla, like you can just like mine through like you know the traps and like the stuff. Like as soon as you know it's there. But this, like, you know, since things were a little bit more involved, you actually had to like understand what you were doing a little bit.
Right, yes.
And I think that the puzzle aspect also makes it really fun to play together, because you can try to figure them out, which might not be as fun alone, or just more fun together, because you can just try to come up with a theory on how it works. And yeah, it's a really cool aspect of playing together through these strongholds.
Yep, I agree.
Awesome. All right, well, I do think, just like you said, you have earned it. Go ahead and hop into the end.
Let's go.
With the desert, ocean, and now jungle strongholds now in our repertoire, I believe that the Biome Strongholds data pack is nearing completion, or at least nearing release. I plan to add one more biome stronghold before I'm ready to release it publicly, so if you have an idea of what that biome should be, remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment letting me know which biome you'd most like to see. I'll also have a poll that you can find linked in the comments for which biome you'd like to see next. And of course, if you want to play with the Biome Strongholds early, you can check out my Patreon to get early access, as well as exclusive access to some of my other data packs. Thanks for watching!